Alright everybody, welcome back. So fresh on the heels of what the hot new addition this patch was, the F-14B, I figure it's time to go ahead and cover what I am personally the most excited for. And it's this plane right here. Now many of y'all may be thinking, oh, no, but Lee, this is just an F-16, we've had it in the game since December. And I thought you weren't that fond of it. And well, yes, but they went ahead and added a brand new missile. If you look on the wings right there, those nice new missiles are the Python 3. These things are absolutely nutty. You can see, look at that pole. Now, he does flare it, because they are still, flareable, just like the AIM-9L. I'm going to be talking about these more later, but the gist of it is these things have absolutely insane performance. They are, without a doubt, at least in my opinion, the best IR missile in the game. Like, look at that. They have great range, they have great pull, and I'll be talking a little more in detail about them later on. But for now, at least, just know these things are absolutely nutty. Now, let's talk about the F-16. So, there are, I want to say, 3 different F-16 flight models in the game right now. There's for sure the Block 10, the Block 15, and I believe the Block 20 also has a little bit of a different flight model. So, now, for those of y'all who don't know, the Block 10 actually performs the best out of any of the F-16s. Now, you see me air braking with this F-14 right here. I almost get my nose around. Every F-16 is going to perform the best at lower speeds. So, when you're turning, you definitely want to get below Mach, and this thing loves to maintain energy. Now, the Block 10 and the Block 15 have different turning abilities at every speed, basically. So the Block 10 actually turns better at high speed, which is ironic because the bigger tail, from my understanding, was supposed to give the Block 15 a better turn in real life. In the game, at least, the Block 10 is going to pull harder at every speed. At the higher speeds, you'll actually hit 11, sometimes 12 Gs depending on your fuel state, where you struggle to hit 10 in the ADF. And you can see right here, that poor ADF right there, he just pancakes into the ground. I felt kind of bad for him, but it's also kind of funny, so. But yeah, most of the time in this thing, you can always hit at least 10 Gs. Many times we'll be hitting 11, like you see right there. And just overall, this thing feels so much better to fly than the Block 15 or the Block 20, which is ironic because it's supposed to be the other way around. And it's not because of the tail. I've seen some people saying stuff like that, but it's just purely because of weight. As of right now, one of my buddies, Jake, by the way, if you haven't seen his channel, go ahead and check it out. I'll have a link in the description. He's done some data mining on this, and he believes he's found what's going on. So the instructor actually restricts how hard the plane can pull. And just to be clear, that is not the flight model itself, that is the instructor. The flight model and the instructor are separate. But at least it appears that for the first second or so, the instructor limits how hard the plane can pull. And that is why you get that kind of mushy response. It's a lot better on the Block 10s than it is in the Block 15 or 20, just because they're lighter, because it's linked to weight. But you can see I was able to cut inside that Mirage 2000 pretty easily. This plane at lower speeds is absolutely insane. You're going to be sitting there pulling 12 Gs, even at like 600-700. Now that does lead to you bleeding a lot of speed below like 800 or so, but it's still very, very worth it. And it allows you to pull off some cheeky stuff like this right here, where I'm going to slot in behind this F-16. You see I'm pulling like 10 Gs at 600, and I slap a Python in his direction. And even though they don't have the best flare resistance, when it's like within a kilometer or so, and you're in an F-14 rear aspect, he's not going to be flaring it. Now, I figure it's time to go ahead and talk about the Python 3. So, I think I mentioned it earlier, but I do want to go ahead and be clear. These missiles do not have really good flare resistance. They have the exact same flare resistance as the AIM-9L. I'm going to go ahead and pop that on screen right now, just so you can see it for yourself. If someone sees it, and they know it's coming, they're going to be able to flare it. So the trick is, because these missiles are like absolutely nuts, you don't want them to see it coming. You can fire at all sorts of different angles that people aren't going to be expecting, because we're used to, 20, maybe 30 G missiles. This is the first 40 G missile in the game. And combine that with its short burn time, at least compared to the AIM-9L, I think it's like a 3 or so second burn time, and combined with the absolutely nuts acceleration that it has, you can pull off a lot of really, really amusing shots. I think I actually got one coming up here in a couple seconds I'll show you, but this missile makes the F-16. This thing is absolutely insane with 6 of them, because you get the really nice flight performance combined with this pull. Like, watch this right here. I fire it 2.86 kilometers. Now watch this missile pull. It is absolutely insane. He probably thought there's no way that missile could come there, because he's used to like the AIM-9L or the R-60M, which can't hit that shot. This thing can pull incredibly hard. It's absolutely unreal. And the hilarious thing, the Netz could get even better. If they decide to go ahead and make it the 1987 model, which I'm going to flash up on screen right here, it could actually get up to 180 countermeasures, which is unreal. Now you can see the SC-39, which, by the way, is a rare SC-39 sighting. He turned front on to me. If y'all are fighting those, the IRCM only works rear aspect as far as I'm aware. So when he turned head on, that let the Python 3 go ahead and get a good lock. So here is one of my favorite cases. You can see he's like 3 kilometers away or so. He's turning away from me here in a second, and the missile doesn't care. It just has so much thrust that it can just keep going. Now, the AIM-9L does technically have more theoretical range, and by that I mean that it can go further over the ground, but in the practical sense, the Python 3 is going to have more range in almost all cases. So it has less guidance time, which means that if you're up at like a super high altitude and you fire at someone that's really far away, the AIM-9L will get there and the Python will probably blow up before it does so. But in most cases, when it's like less than 20-second flight time or so, the Python is going to get there before the AIM-9L and is going to get further than the AIM-9L, especially at these lower altitudes where the AIM-9L is going to lose all of its speed and either not make it or just easily be outpulled because it has no energy. So that is something to consider. If you're at like super high altitudes, you might have to be a little bit careful with how far away you fire it because it'll just explode before it gets there. But I've rarely run into that situation, and in most cases, you're going to have a better time firing at people with the Python than the AIM-9L, at least in like the normal altitudes you're going to be at. Because let's be honest, like how often are you up at like 10 kilometers shooting at someone that's above you? It doesn't really happen that often. Most of the time, you're like 4 or 5, maybe 6 kilometers above someone shooting down at them if you're trying to use these, these higher altitude shots. So, and the Python does that exceptionally well. It accelerates very, very quickly, and you're not going to have to worry about it getting there because it'll get there before the timer runs out on that, shall we say, expiration timer. I guess that works. But in any case, you are going to be having a very good time in this. I would honestly say that even though the F-14B is probably more meta because of all the radar missiles it gets, and let's just be honest, most of the time radar missiles are suddenly more effective, I have a lot more fun when I'm using these Pythons. They are just absolutely nutty missiles, and I can just ripple them off at people. They don't see them coming because there's no warning from the radar warning receiver. And then I just get to go ham in a dogfight with 6 super cracked missiles. It's just honestly so fun. And you see there's a lot of cases, even just like this right here, where what I'll do is I'll actually go ahead and like pull my mouse away from them and just have them the very edge of the gimbal limit and fire it. And most, especially F4S players, they aren't expecting a missile at that angle. And so they'll just fly straight, maybe pop flares at the last second once it's too late. And it has a pretty decent proximity fuse size, so. In any case, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. If you did, if you wouldn't mind subscribing, I'd really appreciate that. I'm trying to hit 5K before my birthday, and it would really mean a lot to me. Either way, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch y'all next time. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. And by the way, don't do what I do. Don't hit him. Now get out there and enjoy your Pythons. Peace.